Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I am here with a kind-hearted woman named Yasmin, who has agreed to let me record our time together so you can benefit from her observations and insights and experience and strength and hope, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Yasmin, how are you today?
Hi, Glenn. How are you? Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. So if you could just start with a little background about your life with food.
Okay, sure. I was overweight for the bigger bulk of my life. We have a running joke in my family that I was born a big baby, so I just stood no chance from the get-go. And I think the weight kept accumulating over the years until I think maybe in 2013 or 2014, I decided to take a stand and to take control of my life and my health. And I'm only 5'1", but my first recorded weight at that time was 260 pounds. And I had already lost some weight by that time. And I kept on meddling in becoming a vegan, going keto, trying so many different things until eventually I sat comfortably at around 180, 170. And then I started focusing on doing the exercise aspect of weight loss and being on a journey to a better, healthy lifestyle. But as I was approaching that stage and I had already lost so much weight, I started to realize that I had a recurring pattern of overeating and then being really, really well for a while, and then overeating and then eating really well for a while. I took a step back, and I think in 2019, I realized that I'm a binge eater. I had never made the connection. I coined myself as an emotional eater, but never realized that what I was doing was binge eating. And I think at the time, 2019 was the very first time I heard your audiobook. And I joined the Facebook page and remained a silent contributor or observer for, I think, maybe a year and a half until October 2020.
I'm going to ask you what happened then, but you said that you identified as a binge eater in 2019. What in your mind was the distinction between binge eating and being an emotional eater?
I think it was identifying the pattern. That's number one. And the second thing is that I realized that there's this weird force inside of me that's just forcing me to do this. I don't want to demonize it, but it felt like I had a food demon, which later on you renamed to the pig, that was just constantly talking to me about food. I'd be running an errand and have no desire of stopping by a fast food drive-through, but that demon would be like, go get fries, go get fries. And it was just so painful. And I think I then made the connections that this is not emotional eating. This is something else. This goes beyond just being an emotional eater.
Got it. Okay. And so then what happened in October of 2020?
I hit the bullet and joined the extensive. And I think I kept, should I not? It's really, really expensive. And then I was like, I spent so much money anyhow on food. And it was a wonderful experience. It was very positive. And now I'm a year later, and I believe that I'm in a much better place in terms of understanding where I'm at and having better tools in dealing with what I'm facing, and in understanding that this is a process. I'm probably going to be in this for the long haul It's not a one and done kind of thing, but it's helping me with the tools. I feel that the more that I invest into what I've learned from the intensive, the more I'm able to carry this with me on a lifelong journey.
Would you mind sharing some specifics?
Of course. I think when I started out the intensive, one of the things was don't restrict, like try to eat to satiety. And I remember on one of the very first group calls that we had, I told you, like, I don't know what that is. I'm either restricting or I just eat, and eat. I don't know what satiety is. And so I use Chronometer. I had been using it since I think 2017. So I started using Chronometer to calculate my calories, to eat at maintenance, which was something I had done for the very first time in my life. I was like, wow, I can eat so much food and healthy, good food that I choose and not be worried about weight gain. And I think I spent maybe like 6 weeks in that area of trying out what satiety, eating to satiety is. I think I was eating about 1,600, 1,700 calories a day and not gaining weight. And it was amazing. And I think that's when I realized that because of how small I am, I'm only 5'1". If I want to really lose weight, I'm really limited with how much I can consume. So I maybe like my cutoff is maybe 1,100, 1,200 calories. That's just to lose like a pound a week. And just reaching this conclusion very slowly and reaching it by myself was like a light bulb. Okay, so now when I follow these amount of calories, I'm not really restricting, but this is what I need because of my frame. I liked how I very logically and slowly reached that conclusion that I had never reached before. Like I was like, why do I eat so little and I eat so much more? Because you're not as big as they are. And still within the 1,100, 1,200 calories, if I make good food choices, I can eat nutritious good food. It has so much to do with the choices that I make.
Lovely. Okay. You stopped panicking and you got off of the feast and famine roller coaster.
Yeah.
You stopped restricting. You moved towards eating more whole foods rather than processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
You had the insight that you needed less calories than other people in order to lose weight.
Yes. If I go on an old binge fest, that's going to cost me so much more because if my baseline is around 1,600 calories, not to gain weight, if I go and do like 3,000 calories or 4,000 calories in a day, that's going to cost me.
Yeah.
Just understanding that was very useful. Even if I still sometimes go off and make mistakes because we're human, and that's okay. I now have a better understanding of why I'm screwing myself up and how I'm doing that.
There's a difference between going off the rails and believing that you're doing okay or you're not doing quite as bad as you think, and going off the rails and really shooting for the right target anyway. It's an improvement. It doesn't sound like you were going off the rails at all. When we have the wrong idea about what we're supposed to shoot for, that's trouble, right?
Yeah. Part of my bullseye is not to binge. And the other thing is that I have a different bullseye than everyone else in terms of how much I can eat. So that was useful to identify.
So then what happened from there?
I'm generally doing well. I've been able to identify situations that are triggers to me, things that have to do with going on vacations and holidays. And I've been recently able to sort of navigate those really well. For instance, we live in Oregon, so we went out to the coast for a 2-day weekend. And I decided that I'm not going to eat out. It was my husband's birthday, and I knew I'm going to use that as an excuse to just eat slightly off plan. And I was like, we don't really want to do that. And it's just too much work to talk with servers and try to get things the way I want. We'll just eat in, but just being away for the weekend is a nice break and change because we're going for my husband's birthday. We don't have to top that with dinner out and just not knowing what they're using in the ingredients. So I feel like this is a huge improvement, like breaking things down and realizing that I'm not there for the food. I'm there because we want to get away. So this has been wonderful. And I think another big improvement is that I'm now more focused, really more focused on my life and what I can accomplish from it and my relationships rather than being constantly consumed with food and what my next binge might be. I'm not completely there, but I'm getting there. However, one of my problems remain is that I have a set of food rules that I follow, and I'm currently in weight loss mode. I would like to lose some body fat percentage. I'm focused more on body fat percentage than just a weight number. But I find that I still break my rules. One of my rules is that I will only eat what I've already planned in Chronometer and only follow my meal plan. So for instance, yesterday, one of the things I had planned for dinner was 85 grams of Brussels sprouts. Roast Brussels sprouts cooked in the oven that I cooked. They were wonderful and beautiful. But after I finished dinner, I decided that they're just Brussels sprouts. I can have some more. And I probably ended having double what I had planned to have. So one part of me feels like it's just Brussels sprouts. It's okay. But the other part of me knows that A, this is not part of my rules. It's not part of my plan. And this technically, according to how we define a binge, is a binge, but it's Brussels sprouts.
Yasmin, this is a very good thing to talk about.
Okay.
First of all, what was it exactly that you said? It was really good and you wanted some more?
I was still hungry. I'm doing like about 1,100, 1,200 calories a day. I'm hungry. It's okay to be hungry. It's not much of an offense. I'm not like other people. I'm not just grabbing a candy bar or whatever, or chips. I'm not really doing something that bad.
Is it okay if I help you with this?
Yes, please. It's driving me crazy.
First of all, there's probably no dietitian or doctor or nutritionist that would fault you for having some more Brussels sprouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably true. So we're in full agreement there. However, the essence of food addiction is eating according to whim or impulse or emotion with regards to your significant food triggers and food rules. If you want to be able to have more Brussels sprouts or go back for seconds or something like that, then the best way to protect yourself is to change your food plan. I don't know exactly what the rule said, but maybe it says I will never have seconds again, except for steamed vegetables or something like that. And that's perfectly okay. You write down why you want to make the change. You wait 24 to 48 hours. Make sure you return exactly what you're changing. Make sure you save a copy of the old rules just in case you need to go back. And then you wait 24 hours until it takes effect. That way you know that you're not eating on whim or impulse. You're eating by design. You'll find that the more that you eat by design, the more that you feel like the master and that the food monster, the pig, is not your master. And it sounds silly, but it makes all the difference in the world because it's the difference between who's the boss. It's the difference between whether you feel like the master of your own fate. It's the difference between whether you let your pig break your spirit or not. And the way we get around this, we call it the health food squeal, is we say, it doesn't matter how healthy when I'm eating it off the plan. We define what's healthy as what's on the plan and what's unhealthy is what's off the plan. And you're perfectly welcome to change the plan in the way that we said, but it's not healthy to break the plan because you're going to allow the pig to break your spirit. And that's not healthy for you. I'm a doctor and I'm telling you that. So
yeah, the health food squeal, because I've been trying to refute it because we learn in the intensive how to do refutations, and no matter how much I refute it, it's still there. And I've overcome so many things and it was driving me crazy because I feel like, oh, come on. Yeah, the idea of that, yeah, it is healthy food, but healthy food is based on my plan and not what the pig says is healthy.
yeah, it's objectively healthy to the rest
Yeah.
of the world,
Mhm.
but the rest of the world doesn't really understand food addiction. You need to preserve your spirit at all costs. Because if the pig breaks your spirit, then you feel out of control and powerless, and then you're going to eat a lot of things that the rest of the world does not believe is healthy. Does that help you?
It does help a lot because I think part of my fears was twofold. The first is that I could identify that this is a pattern, me going and eating extra Brussels sprouts. I might as well be eating anything else. It's the pattern that's happening. And the other thing is the fear is that I could slip into, I might as well have a spoonful of peanut butter, which could end up me eating the entire jar. And it's a very slippery slope that I really am trying not to fall into.
Good. Very good. Do you want to give an example of any of your refutations that did help you? People like to hear those.
One of the things I continue to struggle with, but did help a lot, is that I struggle with the idea that other people get to eat in a certain way. Like we all have those friends who are just slim and skinny and okay, and they just eat whatever. They are doing their frappuccinos and enjoying their cookies and all that. And I always struggle with the fact that I can't do that. I think how I refuted that was that I choose not to do that. It's not I can't, I can. But this is my choice not to do that. People can have their own choices, and I have my choices, and I choose to live with them and their repercussions.
Good. You can eat anything you want to if
Yes.
you're willing to deal with the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just a question of whether you're willing to deal with it or not.
Yes.
Good. Is there another one you'd like to talk about or no?
I can't remember anything right now.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask me or tell me about or make sure that I asked you?
One of the things that's been on my to-do list, I think, for so many months now is that part of the intensive, there was some of those extra activities that we have. And one of them was the deprivation trap. And I think I saved those PDFs to my computer and been wanting to go back and do them. I just feel that this is a trap I really fall into a lot. So I was wondering if you might have some tips or tricks to face the pig's trap.
I do. So just so everybody knows what we're talking about, this is an idea that I first heard from Janine Roth. And basically what she said was that there are actually two types of deprivation. There's what you deprive yourself of if you don't eat a donut. Let's just talk about a donut for the moment as an example. There's what you're going to be giving up if you don't have the donut, like the mouthfeel and the sugary taste and the sugar high and the tastes of a donut. You're definitely going to be giving that up if you never have a donut again. But then there's the type of deprivation of what you're giving up if you continue to eat donuts. And if you continue to eat donuts, you might have to worry about heart attacks and strokes and diabetes. You might have to deal with extra weight. You might have to deal with the blood sugar crash that inevitably comes afterwards. You might have to deal with not having the confidence that you need to relate to other people or do your job or get out and socialize and be with your kids, be a good role model, deal with the family conflicts. There's such a long list of things that you could also be depriving yourself of by continuing to eat the donut. You know, the insight that I had about it was that people don't realize that they're making a decision between the two types of deprivation. They think they're making a decision to be deprived or not. And nobody ever makes a fully informed decision. Nobody ever takes the time to list out all the things that they're actually giving up by continuing to have the donut. If they do list it out, they don't list it out in emotional detail. They'll say, well, I'll be fat. Yeah, but what does that mean? How are you going to feel because you're fat? Are you going to be obsessed with food? Are you going to skip on the hike that you wanted to go on? Are you going to not play with the kids? Are you not going to run around outside? Are you not going to be intimate with your husband? What are you going to miss out on in life because you'll be heavy? So you really need to paint as broad and as emotional a picture as you can about what you're giving up. And then you need to add to that as broad a picture as you can of what does the ghost of Christmas future have to offer you if you continue to eat the donut? Not just for like a month, but what if you kept eating donuts for 10 years? And paint that picture in as broad emotional detail as you can. Maybe you envision that you could have a stroke and maybe you'll be disabled and someone's going to have to help you wipe. Someone's going to have to help you drive around everywhere and you'll be a burden to your kids. And you need to really look the ghost of Christmas future in the eye and see where this is all heading. Because most people believe that the choice to have the donut or not, you could put it off for 6 months. You could eat donuts for another 6 months and then get going and that things are going to be the same. But the truth is you're going to dig a deeper hole for yourself every day that goes by that you continue to have the donuts or whatever the pig slap is for you, that you're making it harder. And there are some things that happen that are irreversible. Some people are irreversibly damaged by the things that the donut does in their body. Sometimes they have one too many and they could have avoided the irreversible damage if they didn't have that one too many donuts. The biggest spike in cardiovascular events occurs right after Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So everybody's thinking just this one more time, but look what happens, right? You know, strokes and heart attacks and TIAs and all that kind of stuff. You need to look at all that. You need to look at it square in the eye. And then what you need to do when you're going through the refutation process. So for people who don't understand, a refutation would be when the pig says that, oh, it's just as easy to start tomorrow. And you say, well, the principles of learning the way the brain learns say that if I have a craving and I eat the donut today, then I'm going to be rewarding that craving. I'm also going to be rewarding the thought that I'll start tomorrow. So I will be more likely to have the same thought and the same craving tomorrow. In fact, it'll be even stronger. So tomorrow I'm going to say, oh, I'll just start tomorrow again. That's the refutation process. But once you've had that refutation and you feel calmer, you need to start to bring the future that you're looking forward to into the present. One of the main reasons that you want to stop having donuts is because you want to be free of cardiovascular worries. And you need to kind of take a breath for a second and say, I'm one day further away from being worried about cardiovascular events. I'm one step less likely to have them right now. You need to connect the action, the decision you've made, to the positive outcome that you're shooting for. And you can even journal about that throughout the week and start to observe steps in that direction. Not just weight loss, but do you have a little bit more energy to go to the gym? Or is your digestion a little better? Or you're a little less mentally obsessed with donuts the next day? Were you able to be with your husband or your kids or your dogs or your cats, or I forgot about cats? Were you able to do that? You take the totality of all that into account, and it really starts to overwhelm the pig. It starts to make pig slop look pathetic. So that's what I suggest. Does that help?
Yeah, it does help a lot because I think one of the things that I'm okay in terms of my health and where I'm at right now, but also thinking that every single step I take is getting better at where I'm at, and I'm even getting more and more far away from the issues that people in my age group would face if they were choosing to eat pig slop.
Yeah.
As I do that, I'm just pushing all of those issues away and away and away.
In the absence of really knowing why you're doing this and bringing it into the present, just feels like you're dealing with a bunch of Nazi policemen watching you and making sure you don't have this, making sure you don't have that, making you suffer. So it's an important question that you're asking.
That's a very interesting perspective and way to put it, because I think through the intensive, I did hear you talk about the two different types of deprivation, but I never linked things together into how that goes into the bigger picture.
Perfect. What else can I help you with?
I'm good. I'm hoping that I can just keep going and keep falling and getting up better and stronger every single time I fall, because it's okay if I fall.
It's okay if you fall, but you don't want to let your pig know that. You want to present your food plan like it's set in stone. You want to absolutely destroy the pig's notion that you're powerless if you fall and you're going to just go off the rails. And if you fall, you fall. As soon as you realize you ran the red light, you get back in the car and say, well, this was serious. How come I didn't listen to it? And you fix that. The other thing is, whenever you hear the words, I hope I do this, I hope I do that, that's the pig. We don't have to hope or pray for anything. We're not leaving it to chance. There are a lot of things that are due to chance in our world, but what we put in our mouth is not really by chance. What we put in our mouth is by will and determination and desire. So what you want to do is claim it. Don't hope for it, but claim it. Listen for that language.
Got it. Okay. I have claim it down here.
All right. What else?
One of the issues I've been facing is that I'm one of those people with the chronic I'll start on Monday kind of situation. And I've been dealing with it for, I think, a few months now, where every single Sunday I'll just have this teeny weeny offense that puts me off. Like nothing major, again, only objectively healthy food, maybe some peanut butter here and there. I make this sort of 1-minute microwave cake with protein powder, which has no sugar in it, because sugar is one of my huge no-nos and is one of my life's biggest wins. I think, having given up sugar for a few years now. But I don't have Sunday scaries because of work. I have Sunday scaries because of the fear of binging. And I think one of the things I've done recently is that I always sort of reset my workout plan and plan my week on Saturday, Sunday. So on Sunday, I sort of have a relief. What I've been doing for the past few weeks is shifting that to Friday. So I'm sort of trying to break the pattern by shifting things to another day. I close my week on Friday, not on Sunday. So I think this past Sunday, I was like, what am I supposed to do? You're not supposed to do anything. You're done. You don't have anything to plan. You planned it on Friday. So there's nothing to do. And I think I just kept looking at myself and was like, am I not going to do some peanut butter? And I think this past Sunday was my first Sunday of not sneaking in a few teaspoons, probably more than that, of peanut butter off my plan in maybe 3 or 4 months. You might have some other ideas that I could also incorporate into trying to shift things as I try to avoid not necessarily going off the rails on Sundays, but having those offenses that still set me off.
First of all, that's a good strategy that you decided about. That's very insightful and successful. I'm glad you did that. Secondly, there is a webinar in the bonus area. We put a lot of thought into all the things that are wrong with the idea that you can start Monday or start tomorrow. I'm going to tell you one of the most important ones. Suppose you were good all week and it's Sunday and the pig says you can start tomorrow. Well, it takes people usually a week to lose the weight that they gain when they binge. I don't know how bad you're being when you're binging, but usually it sets them back a week, which means that as compared to where you would be tomorrow you're going to be even one more day ahead if you stay on track. You're going to be like 8 days behind where you could have been if you decide to start tomorrow. So the pig says it's just one day, but it's not. It's like 8 days behind. It ruins all the progress for the week and sets you back a little further. And that will wear you down eventually. And you'll say, I'm not losing weight. What's wrong with this? Maybe my food plan doesn't work, but no, it's that you're having these little mini to regular binges on Sundays and you can't start tomorrow. Tomorrow is not a day Someday is not a day on the calendar.
Mhm.
You can only ever use the present moment to be healthy. And one of the things we've learned more recently is that the ability to use the present moment is like a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And so most people are very scared of the idea that they're doing well now, but the pig says it's going to get them eventually. You can't sustain this forever. There's this mythical time in the future called eventually when it's going to get you. But if you recognize, first of all, that's a time machine squeal. The pig doesn't know what's going to happen in the future any more than you do. The only time you can eat is now. So if you say the future is an infinite string of nows, then you know that in the future it's going to be now again.
Mhm.
But the other thing that you don't realize, which we're realizing lately, is that because that your ability to be in the present moment is a muscle, that if you practice being in the present moment now, when you get to the future, not only will it be now again, but you're going to be better at being in the present moment. So your now muscle will have strengthened and you'll be less likely to binge in the future, not more like the pig says. So maybe that's helpful to you too.
Yeah. Before we end, I just want to tell you one more thing is that one of the things that were really useful from following the program, and I'm one of those people who I weigh myself every single day, is that eventually really stripping things down and looking at what I'm really doing has helped me really understand what the scale is saying. Like when I do those Sunday night offenses, I know I'm going to be up about maybe 2 or 3 pounds Monday morning, just because of maybe the volume of the food and maybe a little bit of carbs because I'm very low carb. So I sort of understand my water retention. And then last Monday when I woke up and I was at the same weight, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it's helped me also like with different health things, identify like if I'm being bloated, if my body's retaining water for whatever the reason, and hence I could identify things that have to do with my cycle. So it's really helped me look at things in a different way, especially when I'm not binging, because I know it's not food. I can look at other reasons of what's happening inside. So that's been very useful as well.
You are a super good student. You're on track.
Thank you. That's very good to hear from you. I'm very proud of that accomplishment.
Just keep going. It'll get better and better. I hope you have a very good evening. Just keep going.
I will. Thank you so much, man. I really enjoyed this a lot, and it's been very useful. I really appreciate it.
Very good. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.